This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.
Okay, I'm calling to order the meeting of the Ad Hoc Grant Search Committee for December 9th at 1:03 p.m. And we have our three members here. I'm not sure if Scott will join us or not, but thanks to Kate and Bruce for joining in. Don't see any open time for the public, so let us pick up real quick on some minutes. Our busy minute person over here.
Back and I reviewed all of the videos because I had to jog my memory, and I was like, wow, we covered a lot, but sorry
we
for the
did.
tardiness.
We did, but I think, well, I don't have these in the right order. Oh, well, let's take the one I've got up here right now. I'll have to find them in the right order, but this is for the 24th. So yeah, no, I mean, these are extensive, Kate, so I think you can make it easier on yourself. And I know you were just trying to catch up. So, but you can make it easier on yourself to not have to do such a transcription of everything we talked about.
I'm just going to write it during the meeting because that's what I usually
Yeah.
try to do. It's just I couldn't, it's just
Yeah,
sometimes I can't.
no, I think that's fine. So I did do a little bit of trimming here and there and took out a few things. But does anybody have any thoughts or comments here? If not, we'll just approve the 24th of October.
Motion to accept.
All right.
Second.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Now let me find another one. If I can find another one. Try this one. Hold on. Oops, where'd you go? Are you seeing that yet? No. Hang on.
Yes.
Yeah, we're seeing
You
it,
are?
but it's in the middle of the document. It's not up.
Something is doing something weird here. Hold on. I may have to stop that sharing and find something else. I don't know what just happened here. Eesh. Oh, Lordy. Stop. I can't even move my cursor here. Okay, hold on.
That one is the one that I'm seeing is the 24th, dated the 24th.
Yeah, no, it's so I can't even find my cursor here to move it now. My screen is jiggling all over the place here. Huh, gosh. Come on, people.
Technology is great when it works.
I know it is. All right, so I may have to go out and come back. So just if you lose me, don't worry, I'll come back.
Okay.
Wow. I don't know if I can even get out of here. Yikes.
You're scrolling in the document now. So maybe if you go to the top right, you can close out a word on it.
I can't even see my cursor anywhere. It's like three different screens on top of each other here. Yikes. All right. Jeepers creepers. This is not helpful. I've never seen this before. Okay.
Do you have an Apple or do you have an IBM?
No, it's a Lenovo.
So if you do alternate tab, you should be able to see all your open windows at the same time, and you can click on the one you want.
Alt tab.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if that's helpful for you.
Like I'll hold it down tab. Yep.
Yeah. So it's it's just jumping all over the place. I think I probably have too many open. Maybe that's it. But I don't know how to get out of here now. All right. Let me go out and I will come back in. Hold on. See if I can get out of here.
Okay.
Okay, we'll try this again. What that was all about. Try one more here.
That's the same. That's
the same one. I'm looking for the 7th. Is that the same one? Yeah.
Do you want me to screen share? Oh, I can pull them up if you want. If it'll let me.
Yeah, hang on. Well, here's another one. Let's try the 11th. This is the November one for sure. There we go. How's that?
There we go.
Got that?
Yep.
Got that one? All right.
Yep.
Okay. So this is the 11/18 one. Oh, boy. Come on here, puppies. Yeah. So again, we were just trying to reconnoiter a little bit in terms of what we've already done and what may be coming at us. And I know, Bruce, you've done a little bit of research on the solar energy things, and I've actually put a call into a community person at Eversource just to see if they have any programs for municipalities. So we're waiting to hear on that.
Okay.
And then we were talking about just possible grants for the public safety complex and senior center. So that was basically that one, our last meeting. Okay.
Motion to
18th.
approve.
All right.
Second.
All right. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right. Super, super. I'm going to close a couple of these guys and see if I can get
And I don't know if it helps, but I also reviewed the other meeting date. And
Mhm.
if nobody has any objection, I put a motion that we accept those
Okay.
those minutes as documented.
I
Thank
think
you.
that
Second.
would be a good idea. All right. I'm going to
I too
close out
read
a
them.
couple of these.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm going to get rid of a couple of these crazy things here. Okay. That should do it a little bit better. Yikes. Okay. Let's see if I can come back here now. What's anything else open here? Okay. Alrighty. Okay, so just one thing and just a quickie update. I didn't close out of that, but I might have. We did have a reaction from our Brun grant, the town hall one. I think I told you they came and did a site visit, and they're going to. They had to then the two people that came from PVPC and their consultant basically. They had to send the project over to the National Park Service to look at and see if they would agree, because this is actually under their jurisdiction. And so they had to agree to how we would bid it out, how we would divide it up. So there's a part of it is that mortaring of the brick, but there's also, if you look at the front of town hall, there's a cement ramp and then old stone steps that are covered with cement. So we wanted to remove all the cement ramp is not ADA compliant anyway. And then the cement on the steps is basically covering up old stone steps. So we want them to bid that out separately and try to do two separate things. I'm get it done, but just make it two separate jobs maybe. And Randall is going to see if he can jackhammer a little bit of the cement away from the stone, just to see what's under there, to see whether it's worth saving or not. But they'll tell us more on that. But anyway, just to say that they've gotten some initial approvals on their end, so things will move ahead. But they do all the basic writing of the RFP specs and everything. We have to put it out on the street, but they do all the technical stuff, and so we have to identify some companies and send it out to them. But I think it'll happen probably in the spring, but that's looking better than I thought it might. So far we're still in play there with their $96,000, so that's good.
Exciting.
All right. Yeah. So the biggest challenge here now is this crazy firefighter grant that last year we just did this grant in February, and for some reason it's now due in December. So I'm thinking somebody at the federal level is saying, let's get our grants done before inauguration. Because I truly, I was going on last year's deadline. I had no thought in my mind that this was a December due date, but it's due on the 20th. So my goal, if we can get this done, partly because I'm going to be out of town for a couple of days myself, is to try and get this in on the 16th. Also because I don't want to, I never wait to the last minute to get them in, because there's always internet issues, etc. So I don't know.
Hopefully not anymore.
Yeah. Well, yeah. But anyway, yeah, no, not a town hall. Just probably more with the state of the federal grants kind of thing. So we've got a bunch of things that have come up, and I don't know. Let me see if I can find. Is this the one that you did, Bruce? No, maybe this is the one that.
Let me jump in and just say the stuff that I did.
Yeah.
I did before I had seen the FEMA toolkit.
Okay.
And I think we shouldn't even, well, we can go back to them, and the one document that you have up that is an
What I've got
is
here
that
right
for
now
the
is
chief?
Chief Norris's comments.
Yeah, I realize that toolkit is really definitive, and granted,
Hmm.
you highlighted some key components of it,
Hmm.
but they also have an example of the different components of their grants. And um, I just before the meeting, about 2 minutes before the meeting, I sent you an introduction. I realized that the description of the project really needs to involve both the updating the self-contained breathing apparatus and the fire truck. So those six narratives that this FEMA document is requesting, if we're actually asking for two things on a single grant application.
We're not two separate applications.
Oh, all right. So I'm
No,
driving myself crazy how to merge the two of them, and
no.
also succeeded in confusing myself that it
Yeah.
was actually two separate applications.
Two separate applications. And so the language, and this is one of my questions to the chief. I mean, all the statistics have to be the same. So that's one thing we'll have to do is just do a side by side comparison of all the new numbers that we're putting in and just verify that we haven't, made
Hmm.
a error there. But then, last year, except for the real specific information about the breathing units versus the tanker, the description of the town, I mean, all that stuff was the same, basically. We cut and pasted the same information to both applications. And I'm assuming that that is still okay, to a certain extent. We can change a few words here and there, but I think we did a fair amount of this, and maybe we did too much in some areas and not enough in another. Um, the project description was the one here. I think maybe you were talking about at one point. Hold on, I just went too fast here. Um, so I just highlighted some of the key points here that they're kind of looking for. How will it improve your day-to-day operations? And some of this stuff is language that we maybe need to weave in there better than what we did. I don't know. And that's where I'm hoping Chief Norris has gotten some experience with this. He's done this himself a couple of times in West Hampton, so I'm hoping that he will
Hmm.
give us some questions. But Kate, the other day when we met briefly with Chief Fasoli just to get the ups and the updates of the figures that he had at hand right then and there. And our challenge was, if you remember the old tanker we had, we described it a lot in the narrative, and it was whatever. It's really 1988, not big enough, can't
Hmm.
steer it well, et cetera, et cetera. Since we wrote this grant application, they've actually taken it out of service. So
Oh,
we were debating, are we talking about replacing it, or do we pretend we don't even have one? Because it isn't an active part of our fleet now. So that's where we were getting a little bit stuck the other day, and I hope we can break through that logjam when we have both chiefs together and see what they think. But
interesting question.
yeah, because it was really kind of a challenge there.
Do we have an idea about what we are unable to like service now that that's out of service? Like, I wonder if it is worth mentioning that we had to take it out of service and that it poses a significant risk to blah 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 percent of the population because you can no longer
Yeah,
get water there.
exactly. It does, because that is the one that carries right now 1,000 gallons of water. Um, and so it's it definitely, we have to rely more on mutual aid to bring in other fire trucks from other communities to get us the water we need. And so getting a modern truck that has the facility to carry twice as much water would be one thing. But yeah, it's it's a risk. I mean, we have to rely probably more on mutual aid would be my assumption here.
I also have data from, so I on the Board of Health get I try to keep up on the Massachusetts like emergency management, and
Uh-huh.
up until basically last week there was very regular updates about wildfire management, and I feel like that and the recent droughts also
Hmm.
is good supporting information. I mean, like, I don't know how many acres are in our area, but I might be able to find that out
Yep. Well, we
to
know that
say
we've
how
got,
many acres have burned in Hampshire County.
yeah, I think the chief should be able to have that because we know we've got 29 square miles of town. And I think he was going to check on how many, he definitely has had enough brush fires this year. And so he was going to check on how much, but I think it's less than 5 acres actually that's burned here in town.
I mean, 4,500 acres in Massachusetts, though, year to date is a significant change.
Hmm.
I think you're right in mentioning climate change, climate resilience.
Yeah.
The drought,
Hmm.
the pending future is potentially for more drought. And so even though the risk is there, even though it may not have materialized in a significant fashion for us this year.
Hmm.
Mhm, mhm.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good point to keep in mind. So I think as we try to redo these, it's going to be a bit of a challenge here. What I had put up just very briefly for a minute ago was somewhere here. I probably lost it now. No, this might have been it. Chief Norris's notes from his quick review of our application. So he
Yeah.
pointed out where we had, wrong statistics. We say in one point that we only had hydrants in 34% of our town, and then otherwise we said 66%. So we didn't keep our negatives and our positives together in our sentences to understand what we were answering there. Didn't double check it. Just consistency in terms of how old vehicles are, that if you have two different figures there for the same vehicle, the computer's probably going to pick that up. Um, and then he
Oh.
may have some training issues that we answered yes in one, and then we answered something different in another one. So again, some of this is, and quite likely, this is some of the error stuff that probably got picked up by a computer and kicked us out. I wouldn't doubt it. So I'm not sure it's all of it, but at least it contributed to it, I'm sure.
So maybe
Um,
after the review, and I love doing this, like maybe after you, since I can't come in person, like maybe
mhm.
you review it, get it where you want it to be, and I can be like the new
Set of eyes.
perspective,
Yeah,
new set of eyes that can
yep,
look at it and just kind of with an eye towards making sure things match up, like kind of as like almost a newer perspective. Would
yeah,
that be helpful?
absolutely helpful. Yes, because I mean, I thought we had I thought I had kind of done that a bit more with Chief Anderson last year.
I don't feel
But
like we really spent a lot of time thinking about this grant because
no,
we
he
had
he took
somebody
the
write
lead
we
on it. I
we paid
mean,
somebody to write it.
we did. We let him take the lead, and I helped out where I could, but I really let him take the lead on it. And he was working with, I guess he was probably working with Chief Fasoli, but the chief wasn't. He was interim. He wasn't even in place yet. So
Right.
I don't know how much communication there was there at the time. But anyway, just to say, what he's written here, this whole thing about the description on the tanker and various things that he's putting in here, it'll be interesting to see how much of this he thinks we should add into the description of why we need a new truck. But I think we still have to, bite down on, are we talking about, we're replacing it and therefore we give some of the background about why we need to replace it and then all the advantages of a new truck, or do we just sort of ignore the fact that we had a tanker? It's still a conundrum a little bit, but
Why was
anyway,
it taken
he
out of service?
basically can't get spare parts anymore. It's so old. It's 38, 35, whatever years old. Can't get spare parts largely, and
I would
very
just say
costly
it's
to repair if we could find
irreparable.
them.
Maybe I think it's worth mentioning that it's been taken out of service, so it doesn't look like
Yep.
we have a thing that's like, even that kind of works, right? We don't
Yeah.
have a thing anymore. Just to say it needed to be removed for service and because it was
Right.
irreparable and it's 30 years old, 38 years old, so no parts could be
Hmm.
sourced anywhere.
Yeah. No, I think we will do that, and just I think we will say that it's been decommissioned basically. So that would be the idea. I'm trying to think what else we have here. Is this the one? Let me just check this here for a minute. Yeah, so this was the form that we went through the other day and tried to update some information. So this is the printout of the application on the tanker. So everything in red we still had to verify um, after we went through it a little bit yesterday. So we want to check on how we determine our department, what it's named by. There's choices. Some of these are drop down choices, and so you have to just be sure that you've got the right thing. Um, this whole thing about physicals, when we put in the request for the tanker, we put in money to have DOT physicals done for all the drivers. And yet in some other place we say that everybody's fully trained. So, and they're fully trained because they come to us from other towns. So they have their physicals and their driver training and everything else elsewhere. But we said, yeah, we're going to train them, but it's like, well, you've said two places that they're either trained or they're not trained. So, we got ourselves in a little mix up here, I guess, basically. Um, I think some of this stuff, and I'll have to, we'll pull it out when we get over there, Bruce, I think this afternoon, but the critical infrastructure I thought was fairly good. I don't know if you spent time looking at that again, Bruce. I didn't see that in your narrative, I don't think, but maybe you did.
Yeah, I I did, and one thing that immediately comes to mind is the the reservoir. That
Yep.
I think it's important, and I'll bring this on hard copy to pass out, but or and give you an electronic copy. But the dam is a class one high risk dam as
Okay.
recognized by the state of Massachusetts, and so it
Mm.
it doesn't um, uh, the current writing of it didn't really lend much significance, and so I think, and so that was one little tidbit that I think is, as far as critical infrastructure, that if that dam collapsed, it would be quite a problem.
But that's what's interesting. So that's through the estate source that's telling you that.
Yeah, there was a state source that goes over all the dams, their construction, and there's a state assigned risk category.
Mhm.
And so Holyoke has a second reservoir that is a class two reservoir, and I don't know their whole classification as to which is more
Mhm.
critical, but
Yeah,
if we had a huge flooding event, could that man-made dam be at risk of collapse?
yeah,
And what would that flood be? And granted, it's not a fire that's being put out, but it's emergency response.
sure. And
Um,
what's interesting there is, I think that came up when they started reviewing the hazard mitigation plan update, and it was said that the only way that that would be a risk or a hazard, I guess, to the town is if there were some catastrophic event like an earthquake. And the
Mhm.
earthquake would, cause the dam to do whatever. But otherwise, they weren't at that review anyway, just a couple weeks ago, they were not considering the dam a high risk. So that may be a question when we talk again to the hazard mitigation people. But if this is supported by documentation, there's nothing wrong with probably putting it in parentheses like that
right.
somewhere along the way.
And I
Is there
can,
property that's owned by the town that is, you think about what is a vulnerability for Southampton or like neighboring properties. Like,
Yeah,
is there any like, I mean, I guess
it's at
land
the end.
conservation. I guess I'd have to look
Yeah,
up more if it's
yeah.
like what risk does it pose to other people if they're adjacent to forests that are owned by the town that can't be serviced by
Hmm.
um whatever this
Well,
tanker or
many
something else.
Yeah, many of our conservation forested areas are not very densely populated, though. I mean, it's not,
Okay.
they're pretty much kind of out there. We did refer to them here, but um, I think one of the bigger ones too is just being near Barnes Airport and having to support the National Guard if there were anything going there. I mean, I think that's a big one. Um,
Hmm.
we said we've got two watersheds, et cetera. So I think this is fairly good. I wasn't sure what we needed to do about utilities, but I think it's probably should be there.
When I'm looking at the master, like what you define as a critical infrastructure, everything says electricity is critical infrastructure. I'm
Yeah,
actually seeing if there's anything else that's listed in our master plan.
right, yeah. So I think this section I thought myself read halfway decently, but it's when we get down to these other ones on the 25% categories here. And what I was running into, so Bruce, you remember the other day, this set of columns was I believe 24 no 23, 22, 21.
Correct.
And then we changed the headers and then I tried to make a column for this year's information. On
Mhm.
the online version, it is still 23, 22, 21. So
Oh.
I've sent an email off to the help desk for this crazy program saying, guys, tell me what's wrong. Is there, what am I doing here? But I don't have an answer yet. So unbelievable. But anyway, um, so
One slight, about the page you're on right now.
yeah, this financial distress one. Yeah.
There's a formatting issue, and I don't know whether that
Oh
was
yeah, no. This is just because it prints out this way. It doesn't look this
okay.
way online.
Okay.
This is just because it prints out. It's trying to get anything to print out from the online version is a nightmare. So I just wanted to
I
capture
wonder
what
if
we
we could
wrote.
just put limits our ability to raise capital for fire operations, such as replacing our decommissioned tanker that is no longer,
Yeah,
safer.
yeah.
Like just
Replacing our decommission. Yeah, change that from aged. Yeah, I had decommissioned somewhere else, but
Yeah,
yeah,
you
Bruce.
did.
This is just the way it looks, just because that's how it prints out.
Okay.
Or saves as a Word document from the online. Our decommissioned tanker. So I think maybe our narrative here is slightly all right, but I bet we can strengthen this somehow. I mean, some of this stuff that they talked about in the guidance, so the toolkit about the property tax caps and all those kinds of things were things that they wanted to hear about. I mean, it seems like a lot of. Oh, now what happened? Oh, okay.
The
It just went
page
on to
again.
separate pages. Yeah. So it seems like they wanted to hear about a lot of this stuff. To me, it reads like a whole bunch of jumbled up figures, but I guess that's what they're looking for. So we did put 25% total acres are enrolled state program where they're based. Yeah, so this is all the conservation and APR kinds of stuff here. We've been funded 16% in comparable departments as of a couple years ago. Um, let's see. And then I've gone out to housing and assessors just to get some updated information on the median per capita. I did get a new population figure for Lucy. We are now 6158 people. So we were 6224 when we wrote this in February, and now it's 6158. So, and seniors over 60 are now 35% of our population. But I'm still going to have to wait on this median income stuff and be sure that this is correct here. We did update the fact that salaries and EMS operations account for 82% of the entire fire department budget. And we can just double check these figures, but I think we're pretty good. It was more the narrative stuff, and that's where we'll have to really focus on this. And then, so fire suppression. Did Rich tell us this one? A lot of this was just, how many kinds of apparatus do you have? How many people or how many seats does it hold in terms of people that can be on it? So some of that really hadn't changed, but we get down to yeah. So this is what we fiddled around with right in here a little bit. Um, so historically, we've had a tanker tender throughout our history, from old trucks to retired military vehicles. Out of consideration for the safety of our firefighters, we stopped using those units a few years ago. Our tanker is no longer operational and has now been permanently taken out of service. And then I don't think that adds anything. I don't think we asked them to like what we write. I wouldn't put that in there myself. um, community description, most of that is there. So there was something here about.
You know, one other thing about the last paragraph, is there any data on like any change in how we've been more reliant, or like, has there been a change in reliance in mutual aid too? Like it says that we have an increase in calls, but I also think like I know we rely on East Hampton and Westfield quite a bit, but is there
Yeah.
any increase in like us needing to call other towns? Like I thought about that brush fire where that guy's whole yard caught on fire.
Right.
You know, like who took care of us then? You know, how many times have we had to call in mutual aid to support something because we lack the resources?
That's one of these little statistics up here somewhere.
The one, I don't know about the wordsmithing of it, but as far as mutual aid, none of the surrounding communities have a tanker truck,
Yeah.
which I think is important to
Yeah.
spell, because if our community needs one and we're reliant on
Here it is.
neighboring communities, we're out of luck. And I was going to ask the chief when we meet, when was the last time the tanker truck was utilized? And if we had a significant fire, now that we don't have one,
Yeah. Well,
what's the outcome with no communities near us having one?
I think
Yep.
that both of those facts, the increase in brush fires in Massachusetts, as well as the no longer having a tanker in our town or surrounding towns, I think that, you know, that little blurb about the change in risk,
yeah.
like I feel like both of those things could be like great concise bullet points for that paragraph.
Yeah. Okay. So here's the mutual aid thing, and it basically just asks for figures. So how many times we got mutual aid from another town, how much we give mutual aid to other people, other towns, and then the amount of mutual automatic aid that were structure fires. Now I'm not sure that this is. I wanted the chief to check this. I don't know what that really means because that doesn't ring true to me. We lost. So Bruce, to answer your question, we lost the house on Maple Street almost 2 years ago now. Burned to the ground. Trucks couldn't get up the narrow dirt road beyond the end of the hydrants. Truck slid off the side of the road, couldn't provide water fast enough, had to call in other towns with water. Anyway, it was serious. So probably year and a half ago anyway, that truck was probably last used, I would say, in a real fire would be my guess. But we'll check that with the chief. But that's why on this one about amount that were structure fires, I don't think that that's true either. So I want to double check that with him.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to check the price on a new vehicle too, because we didn't know that. So, you know, we don't have to go through all of this, but just to say that we've got a lot of narrative stuff to do. So this.
One additional cost that maybe Scott can provide in the FEMA guidelines, they include insurance as a cost. So if we had a truck, what's the insurance on a new truck going to cost us? That should be built into the grant.
Oh, really? Okay.
So it isn't just the, you know, it goes into the budgetary planning of the town, that if we're going to have this truck, it's going to come with additional costs to have it. And the other thing is, I was also going to ask him, where was the old tanker truck housed? And if we did get a new one, will the current fire station be able to house it? Is it too big?
That's the problem. The current tanker that is decommissioned is down on Bloomer Road. So that's technically a second station, but it just is used for a storage of that vehicle. So to get another one, there is no place to put it in the current fire station. So one of the fire trucks, I don't know, one of the fire trucks might have to move down the other place. That's the south end of town. So I'm not sure. That's a good question. We can ask the chief. I don't know where they would put it.
Yeah.
You know, it'll take at least 2 years to get here, I'm sure, anyway. But you know, nothing will be fast, I'm sure, because they have to manufacture it probably. But so this is kind of where we were deliberating a bit the other day, Kate. I think this is the one. Yeah. So this talked about the risk analysis, and then we wanted to get funding to get a new tanker. And then we spent time talking about all the problems with the old one. Failed a pump test, failed DOT inspection, high repair costs, and then why, this is what we need kind of thing instead.
I think we
So
could take out the need a tanker with the increased maneuverability. I mean, it's out of commission, right? So it's like I feel like that it's not like we're yes, we do need that, and also there's no alternative. Like we're either going to get it or we're not. So I'm not sure that the maneuverability is like
yeah, no, again, yeah, uh, this is talking about the old one. That's true. Yeah. Uh,
we could just say yeah, I don't know that I think what's important is knowing how much of the town would need something like this in comparison to hydrants.
yeah, yeah. Because this gave the example of the one that we lost in 23 here.
And granted, with the new administration that's going to come in, it's likely this will change. But historically, is this an annual grant that is available from FEMA for communities, or is there something unique about it's never happened before? It's
Yeah.
a unique subset of grants, or
No, I think it's a regular annual FEMA thing. Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Um, because and what's the turnaround time of submission and hearing whether it's passed any reviews?
About 6 months, I think it was last time. We didn't hear until it was kind of all over. I mean,
Yeah.
they started reviewing. So, well, see, okay, started reviewing, and this is nationwide, so they have thousands of grants, right? So they started rolling out, yeah, they started rolling out responses, I think, in June, and it was kind of a rolling, every Friday they put out awards,
Okay.
June
Okay.
or July, say, and then it was only by September that we figured out that we were not on the list. We kept waiting every Friday and we weren't on it. So it took a couple months to roll out all the results, basically. So, yeah. But anyway, so just to say, there's a lot of tweaking to do here, but I'm hoping that whatever we put in some of the basic stuff, I mean, we've got to be very specific, obviously, on the tanker versus the breathing unit apparatus description, but some of the issues in terms of the financial distress that the town has to be able to afford these without a grant. This grant is indispensable because we don't have the funds to do it
Right.
with all the other projects that are, ongoing, and the amount of our budget that goes toward, the school, and very limited amount for other things that we need, such as huge capital expenses like this. Um, I think a lot of that language should be the same between both grant applications. So I don't think we would get dinged for cutting and pasting in that level. There was something they gave at the end of that toolkit, where they gave some examples of narratives from different communities. And they
Mhm.
clearly said, do not plagiarize or whatever, because we'll find out, kind of thing. So I think they didn't want you to take their sort of samples and count those as
mhm.
templates,
Mm.
or borrow those wordings.
Right.
But I think, yeah, we definitely will have two separate applications. Yeah, you can't put
Okay.
two
Okay.
things in on one. It's too complicated. So anyway, that's what we're going to try to do. I don't know if I had anything else that was worth sharing at this point. I know Bruce, let me see. Well, this was your one in the word here. It comes up all of a sudden now. I was trying to find it. So this is what you did a bit of a revision on the tanker one at one point before you got into
Yeah.
and we had spent time just focusing on the tanker. We hadn't even gotten into the breathing unit one. So just looking at this. So this was Bruce's attempt at that paragraph that was,
But in reality, it's repositioned some of that same information in
yep.
a somewhat more readable fashion, and you only can
Yeah.
appreciate that when you have both documents side by side, and it's
Mhm.
hard to read it in that
Yep.
grant application, and
Oh, it is. Yeah.
that's why, and I was doing hard copy here at home so that I could discern those differences a little bit easier. Or even on, having a second screen and having the two documents side by side,
Right.
the the length maybe more concise language and the grouping of pieces of
Yeah.
information is a little bit to my eye.
Yes.
And granted, I'm new at this, so oh,
Hmm.
I think that looks great. I agree
This,
that it seems more readable and it flows better.
yeah, I think it's a lot tighter in terms of the, just a bit. I don't. I think it's organization. It may not. You may not have changed a lot of the wording, but at least organizationally, it seems to flow a little bit better here. And here you did bring in climate change and drought and wildfires, so we could add in, some of those statistics from the chief, to or the state
hmm.
from or county, whatever, town or county. That's probably more realistic.
It's puzzling to me based on that FEMA guideline document, which is 23 pages. Um,
I know.
uh, how the reviewers look at this, and how much, you can go on and on and on with justifications, but at some point
Yeah,
they're saying, you don't give us everything. You need to summarize, and
right.
when you summarize what what do they define as being key?
Right, exactly. Yeah. And here, I think, just for Kate's edification here. So the new tanker truck, this almost last paragraph here, this is kind of describing how it will be different and why it'll be a whole lot better than what we have right now. So
I
this,
see
I
that.
think,
That's
was
sounds much better.
yeah. So that I think was a good idea as well. Some of these, and I think it probably is those four questions that require the 25 that get the 25% scoring each. Some of them, when you actually get online, they have a word or character limit. And 4,000 comes to my brain, and I can't remember if I think it's probably 4,000 characters, not 4,000 words.
For the
So,
application in total?
no, no, for that section, for a
Oh,
section.
okay,
So
okay.
each of those 25% sections, I
Hmm.
think probably have a quota in terms of how much you can put in there. And that it shows up when you're in it online.
Yeah,
It won't let you type anymore.
part of
So
the
this is
challenge,
AFG. You want me to look it up?
Sure, if you want to, yeah.
part
If you
of the
can.
challenge in that is that they, in the beginning, the first page of that toolkit, it says there are six narratives, and then there are six narratives, but there are the some of the narratives are duplicated or not duplicated, they're embedded in that, maybe it's background information, I'm not sure, but when you talk about financial need is 25%, and you have to
Mhm.
have sort of your
Right.
budget explained in that. And so it wasn't, I struggled in reading the old application to, all right, if I read that, how does it fit with some of their structure? And they don't meld together very well.
Mhm. Yeah.
Uh, and so, uh, the and then there was really no statement of effect at the end, like, um, sort of a summary statement, just like I didn't find a clear-cut definition of like an introductory statement of where we're
Hmm.
coming from. But um,
Hmm. Yeah.
those,
Okay. That could have been a very weak point there, but this does describe it here. So the out of these six, so the critical infrastructure we looked at, that's not one that receives a 25% scoring. That's
no,
just a descriptive. The financial need does, the project description, cost
I
benefit,
mean,
and statement of effect are each 25% categories. So the organization, how we describe our community, I don't know that that's even scored at all. It's just information to tell the reviewers who we are. So
right.
those are the six buckets that they're talking about, four of which we have to spell out quite clearly. But then here too, focusing on quality, not quantity. So it may
Right.
be right in here somewhere. Now that I said that, in terms of I read it somewhere.
I keep trying to find the total number of characters, and I'm looking through the toolkits and looking through it. Um,
Uh, it may be actually in
Caitlin,
each of this.
are you looking online at our actual application or
no, I'm looking at the toolkits to see if there's a
the
character
toolkit?
limit.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, it'll pop up when we run into it, but I'm pretty sure those four graded ones come up with some limitation in
I
terms of
think I made
wording.
that mistake before with the Council on Aging grants. I wrote 1,000 words and it was 1,000 characters. And man, limiting 1,000 words to 1,000 characters is like
I know.
torture.
Yeah. Yeah. So here it is. So this one is not scored. Okay, that's true. But some of these other, I'm sure I've read it somewhere in the guidance here. So these are the kinds of things about, that background about the community. So I think we've tried to cover a lot of this. We haven't talked too much about rapid development at all. I don't know that we have any real rapid development, but
This says character limits for narrative sections, and this is just an AI search. When I look up character limit assistance to firefighters grant, it says typically 4,000 characters.
characters. Okay. Yeah. I was gonna say 4,000 words is a lot. So yeah, that probably makes sense. The
I
cost
mean, that's
benefit
just
analysis.
because I can't find it in any of the toolkits.
Yeah, it might have been in the NOFO or somewhere else, but
Oh, I
I
see it here. Okay, January 1824. That says the maximum number of total characters is 3,000 per each narrative element, except on. Sorry,
so
this is
that was
taking me so long.
so that was January this year, so that would have been the
That
one we
was
already
January of
submitted.
this year.
That's the one we submitted in February. So it's probably around that, but if you saw 4,000, that's what sticks in my head. I read it somewhere, I think too. So that's fine.
So
It'll
it's
tell
somewhere
us when
three. Wait, is that even the same program? Assistance to firefighter grant frequent. Yeah, that's the one we're applying for, right? AFG.
Yes. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and so all this, they have this whole formula here about the cost benefit of the project. I think we did some of that. It might need to be strengthened, but that was attempted in there. But here's what you were talking about here: potential improvement to your ISO rating. Um, that's one. Okay, so I can shoot a note off to Scott, and he can be thinking about that. Our insurance rating. Um,
And that was 3,000 characters, not words.
I'm actually just going to copy. I found exactly. It says it's one of the FAQs. It says there's
yes,
an abstract called purpose, implementation, impact, barriers, and partners as are the sections. Does that sound familiar?
no.
No, but
Yeah. What are these FAQs? Like everything says something different.
Well, they have, and under this firefighter program, they've got different subcategories. So that could be it. But
I'm gonna let
that's
this
okay.
human
It's
go.
at least 3,000. It may be 4,000. Don't worry about it. It will tell me
Okay,
when I
I
get
won't
in
worry.
there. It'll tell me. I think we were nowhere near that limit. I don't think we had the problem of writing too much last time. It's just that it wasn't terribly precise, perhaps. It was
okay.
pretty enough in that regard. So anyway, so that's kind of where we are. So we've got some homework to do. I think, we were just trying to fill in figures here and trying to get some of that. So the challenge right now is that it's not giving me the column to add in 24 figures online. They keep calling this fiscal 24, which, as I was telling Bruce, makes no sense. We're in fiscal 25, and even the federal government is fiscal 25. So I don't know why they call this FY 24 grant, but that's how they name it. So I don't know. But they didn't make a column for FY 24 figures. So that's the real problem that we will face. But I'm sure I'm not the only one that's noticing that. So hopefully somebody's working on it at their end. But we'll see what we can do. And again, if Chief Norris, I don't know if he was putting in one himself this year or not, but he might have a clue how to work with that if that's true. So I think without, belaboring all this, because I think we'll have a longer afternoon ahead of us
Yeah, yeah.
to try to go through this a bit more, but we'll at least see what we can do to. I did start entering some stuff online already, so I have put in some stuff online, but I've left a lot of the narrative out. But I put in
Okay.
what I could do, so because I think it's important to go in online and just start working in online, and then going back and cutting and pasting from here, editing whatever we need to do and choosing what we want as our narrative. But okay.
Sounds good.
All right. Well, I think let's just call it a day on this part, and we'll have a separate work session with the chiefs in a little bit to kind of just understand where we need to go from here. Okay.
Okay, and then you're going to just, yeah, if you send it in a Word doc, I could even copy it into a Google Doc, like if you want me to track my edits.
Yeah. See, I'm gonna try it. Well, yeah.
I don't want to mess with your document, but like, you know what I mean? Like I could put, I'm happy to do that separately, so it's not just editing your doc. Whatever you want me to do, I'll do it.
Yeah. Okay. We'll figure it out. To the extent we have anything that we like that we think is good enough, we could probably enter it in on the online one and just keep a copy of it on paper, on a Word document as well. As you
Okay.
saw, printing out the application is a kind of a nightmare after you put it in there.
Oh
So,
yeah, I could see that. Okay.
and I don't know that it'll let
Okay.
me print it out while I'm in the middle of the application. So we'd have to keep that as separate Word doc and just say that this
So,
is the one we've used. Yeah.
just a follow-up question because you're both meeting at town hall, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do we need to do that as a continuation of the open meeting? Like, because I'm like writing the notes. I'm like, how do you? Because there's two
No,
members from the committee.
I think we're just gonna end up calling this a work session, with the chief. I mean, we're not gonna be, they're gonna be telling us what needs to go in there, and I'm gonna be the scribe, basically, I think.
So I'm just
I'm
gonna say
hoping.
there will be a work session with Chief. I'm just not gonna. Chief is solely
Yeah, and Chief Norris.
and Chief. I'll just put that in there at
Mhm.
2:30 to review the application. I just won't like make it
Yeah.
a.
Well, and to get some feedback as to where we can strengthen the application.
Mhm.
Okay,
Okay.
good. All right. Well, we'll be back in touch once we get through that, and we'll have to have several pairs of eyes on this again. We'll read it
Yeah.
over many times, I'm sure, by the time we're done. But good. So how about a motion to adjourn?
Motion to
I'll
adjourn.
make a motion to adjourn. Oh, second. See
Very good. All right. All those in
you
favor?
soon.
Aye.
All right.
Bye.
Perfect.
This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.